Tonight's thought. Unless you're a criminal being hauled into jail on some petty theft or grand larceny, some drunk driving arrest, unless you're a criminal going into city jail with handcuffs around your wrist, you know, what the cops call bracelets in all those cop shows. It's really, really, really freaking hard to get your fingerprints taken. I found this out this week. Yeah, it's I started a new job this week, just for the summer. I'm a teacher, and obviously you're working with kids. You have to get a background check. I've been through this before, many times, with all the teaching jobs I have. It's never something that they stop asking you to do, right? At some point, you're going to get a background check. It's just on a rolling basis. This was a little bit different for me, though, because I had to get fingerprinted. And by the way, one thing to never say when an employer instructs you to go and get fingerprinted, don't ever just say like, well, they should already be on file. That's not good. Like what I meant is that, oh, I had my fingerprints taken years ago, but it made it sound like I had been hauled in. Anyway, so they send you in the mail the fingerprint cards, and they tell you that you can go to a licensed fingerprinter, kind of like a notary public, right? There's people all over town that can get, licenses to just, take your fingerprints, and they'll charge you like $20 or whatever. Or you could go to like a police station. And I didn't want to just set up an appointment with like a private person or anything, some Mo who's going to take my fingerprints in like their shady garage or something. So I went down to the campus police station down here at UAB and walked in, and they said, "You need an appointment." And this like utterly kind of shocked me. It threw me back. I don't know why it would have taken me aback, because suddenly I realized like I am in the throes of bureaucracy here. I'm going to get fingerprints, and they really don't like to do anything at all without making your life just a little bit harder than it already is, right? So they said, "You need an appointment." I said, "Well, I mean, when's the next appointment?" And they said, May 14th. Okay. So for those of you keeping score, May 14th is kind of a long time from now. And this company told me that I needed to get it done ASAP. And I needed to get it done within like the week of them sending this to me. So the campus police department was out. And at that point, I'm sort of like, okay, I guess I'll go to the city police department. Didn't want to have to do it, but whatever. It's an extra 2 miles. Okay, fine. So I go down there to the Homewood Police Department and go up to the door, and I pull on it, and it's closed. The police department's closed, or it's locked, or there's somebody in there who just is not feeling it, and they don't want to let me in or whatever. But I'm pulling on the door there, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is just one door of many. So I go around to all the doors. I end up going around to like the jail there at the Homewood Police Department, and they're closed. They're locked. It's like, God forbid, I was like, I'm running from like a criminal or something, and I need asylum. So no fingerprints there. Okay, fine. So I finally relent. I get on my phone, and I dial up one of these private persons. I just search fingerprints Birmingham. And the first person I see, like, they're headquartered in a law firm. They've got like a nice little sleek, Squarespace page where you can book an appointment, like you're getting a haircut or something. So I get on there and I book it for 3 o'clock that day. So I go home and I eat lunch and I get back on the road and I go to this place. It's in like this law office on the 7th floor of this office park. And I go up there and go to reception and I say, hey, I've got a fingerprinting appointment for 3 o'clock. And they're like, what are you talking about? Fingerprinting appointment? This is a law office, sir. And I said, well, I know, but I've got this. I showed her the email. I got this confirmation. And she says, oh, yeah, that. Well, she just left for the day. And I said, what do you mean she left for the day? She accepted my appointment. She's like, oh, yeah, don't use that online appointment system. That thing sucks. Listen, I've got her number if you want me to. So yeah, again, for those of you keeping score, this is 3 times now I've tried to get my fingerprints done. And at this point, I'm leaving the office, this law office, and I'm there in the parking lot of this office park, there in Homewood, Alabama, with 2 blank fingerprint cards that are getting desperately lonely for my fingerprints. I at that point just kind of started to consider that I should commit a crime. And I know that this is the 2nd week here that I've been toying around with the idea of a young kid like me getting into crimes. So I think, like, what kind of crime can I do? Go down to like the trim tab and throw back a few IPAs and then get on the road and start doing some like illegal lane changes or something like that. I was like, no, I mean, there's never a cop around when you need one. So the best thing to do would probably just be to go back into the police station at the University of Alabama at Birmingham and maybe like knock over like some file cabinets, or like at the very least like a pencil thing, and it's like, you know I'm a threat, okay? Lock me up and get my fingerprints done that way. But then I think like that would kind of defeat the whole purpose, I know, of getting fingerprints, because they're looking for crimes on your sheet in your history. This company that's asking me to do this. Okay, fine. So yeah, I finally go down to the Birmingham Police Department, and finally they will do my fingerprints. Yay, they'll do my fingerprints. Okay, only they take $20 cash only, and they don't take any cash, any bills that are over 20s. And I'm looking in my pocket, and I have a $50 bill that my mother-in-law gave me for graduating from grad school. So, my God. So, I had to go down to the Chase and change it and all that. And I finally went down there, and they looked surprised, and they almost looked like nobody has ever made it like this far before. I mean, that's what they looked like, except for criminals. And welcome to another show here. This is the Midnight Citizen Show. I'm your host, Mike Booty. Thank you for joining me here tonight in the studio. It's very hot, very muggy, early May night here in the South. I wouldn't have it any other way. I had some crazy tornadoes swipe through the South. I hope everyone's okay. I was on a Zoom call today with everybody in this new company. Everybody I work with, they're spread out all over the country, and a lot of them are in the South. So everybody was kind of dealing with like power outages and things like that. And I live across from a hospital, and knock on wood, we almost never ever get power outages. So if you never want to have to deal with that, move across the street from the hospital. And there's other perks to that as well too, I guess, I suppose. If you're ever in need of an emergency, I guess they can help you. So I had the chance when I got my fingerprints done to actually witness this City Hall data breach for myself. For those of you who don't live in Birmingham, and even for some of those you do, this is like a major story that's kind of been downplayed because it's been going on for so long now that people really in Birmingham don't talk about it anymore. The City Hall here in Birmingham, right down the street, came under the attack of these hackers. I don't know if they were like Chinese hackers or they were just those hackers from that movie Hackers. They just had their entire database breached, and they've been having to go pencil and paper ever since. I mean, this happened now like 3 months ago. You think they would have cleaned it up by now, but apparently not. And again, it's like I don't know, it's like the Iranian hostage crisis or something. It's been going on so long that you kind of need the news to remind you that it's still going on. But so I'm reminding you. But I mean, I didn't know. I didn't think this thing was still going on. And they took me back. This nice lady from the police department office kind of ushers me into the back room, I guess, where they bring all the criminals to, because there's the big camera with the turn to the right, mugshot space there. And next to it is this big, I guess, ink runner table, just full of ink, and they're kind of rolling it back and forth. And I always figured that this is the way that you get your fingerprints taken, because I remember being this is one of those things that they would do whenever your church would have like a scavenger hunt when you were a kid. One of the things on the scavenger hunt, you had to go all around the community, and you had to like go to a local grocery store and bag somebody's groceries, or go to the fire station and slide down the fire pole. One of them was you had to go to the police station and get your fingerprints taken. You're like a little kid. This is how, when I was a little kid in the early 90s and late 80s, that's how I had always, and also in the movies, that's how you get them taken, is they take your palm, right, and they just kind of move it from the ink, right? They move it from the ink to the card, and they sort of roll it back and forth in a rocking motion, right? There it is, okay? So I thought that this is how they do it, and she said, like, oh, this is supposed to be so much faster. I said, what do you mean? She's like, look at that system, and she shows me like this big old computer. It looks like one of those computers out of 2001, and she says that's how they get done. You just put your fingers under there, and they take a picture of it, and it's we're having to go analog. And I was like, oh yeah, because of that data breach. And she's like, oh shit, yeah. She's like, we're going back to the Stone Age here. So, yeah, I mean, it's wild. So, I mean, these people, these poor people, they're having to fill out everything on pencil and paper. And this woman, she said, my entire job was on computers, and now I have to do everything on stone tablets. So felt bad for her. I really did. It's wild. This just return to the analog world that everybody seems to be going through. If they work for like governments or municipalities, or just anything where it's like, I guess your database, I don't know why anybody would want to hack the Birmingham City Hall. I don't get it at all. I know there's a joke there somewhere to be found. Like, what would you want to find in Birmingham's database? I have no idea. Right, but it did get me thinking about just we do kind of live in like constant fear that we are going to return to like kind of an analog society. And obviously we've seen the past couple of years just dealing with artificial intelligence, and everybody's been talking about it in relation to like the Terminator, and I have to admit that I have been succumbing a little bit to the whims of AI. Like we, as a teacher, I had to attend several professional development workshops on artificial intelligence, and because obviously the kids are going to use it, and I indeed have had several students in the past year. I caught them using AI, and that's during the professional development. Everybody was like, "Oh, these kids are going to be really good with AI," and I was like, "Not really," because in order to kind of like in order to pass yourself off as a good writer, you kind of have to need to show that you're a good writer in the first place. And I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that, but if you're a student who's going to use AI, then you can usually spot the students. I mean, no paper that I've seen yet is written with perfect grammar, and they all follow the same structure. It's right. I'm not really worried about AI taking over the world very soon, but I do know that this kind of complacency will accelerate that. So I am on the watch out for it, and I'm trying to find. I think that's the thing that we're doing right now, is we're trying to find like ethical ways to use AI, like as teachers, for instance. I have seen some teachers on some of these social media videos, some of these reels and these shorts and these TikToks. And they basically put their entire grading rubric right there into artificial intelligence. And they put the kids' paper into the artificial intelligence. And then they tell the AI, grade my student's paper with this rubric, give it qualitative feedback, and then give it a score. And does it work? No, it doesn't work. But these teachers are using it anyway. And they're completely replacing themselves. That right there is what's going to be very, very bad. I mean, when we're training AI to replace us, I don't want that to happen. And yeah, often said, of course, that the last World War was fought with nuclear weapons. World War III will be fought with sticks and stones. And so every day it sort of seems like we are getting back to inching closer, right, to an analog world where the digital domain will still be upon us. It's just we won't be a part of it. It'll move on happy without us. That's what I think we're worried about. So, but I was thinking, yeah, about this thing now that it's like, it seems to be like more and more, I don't know, prevalent. As I see it, maybe it's just like has to do with the videos I've been watching on YouTube that are made by very young people. But kind of started years ago with these creepypastas that like my little niece would tell me about, like the Slenderman and all that stuff. And then it kind of accelerated. There was this movie that came out last year called Skinamarink. And all of these things are classified in this subgenre of horror called analog horror. Okay? And analog horror. And analog horror is like classified as kind of defined as having like preying on like the sort of parts of our memory that fill in the blanks of what really happened. I think that may be like a kind of a deeper thing. I think on the surface, though, what analog horror looks like is that it looks like it was shot with a videotape, right? Or if it's audio, it was recorded with a cassette tape. And things like this. And again, that's like going back to Slenderman many years ago. It was like this game where you would sort of be walking around at night and in the dark woods, and all of a sudden the Slenderman would show up, and it looked like you would die, but when you died, it sort of looked like the tracking was all messing up and things like that. Okay. And I honestly will say that I have had kind of that general, I guess, generational aversion to this term analog horror, because I was like, what are you talking about, analog horror? Like, every horror movie I grew up watching was on videotape. I mean, that to me was just horror. And I guess I know it means something different. It means that the kids are sort of using it. The kids, I don't know. I mean, there was this series of found footage movies that came out called VHS, which is all about, I guess that's classified as analog horror. But yeah, I think it's addressing this idea that media can be lost. We kind of have this idea now in the digital age, obviously the digital age. We have this idea now in the 2020s that anything that we make, anything that we put out there for the world to see, is going to be around forever. There's no way we can erase it. So there is this sense in analog horror that these things were made many moons ago, and they've just been left in somebody's dusty attic, in somebody's grungy, shady basement, hiding in the dark rooms and alcoves of the universe to be discovered. And when we do discover them, what we see on them, there's no explanation for it. There's no context for it. It's just shaky and staticky, and there's some screwed up stuff happening on that tape. Okay. And I think that's analog horror. And again, I think the genesis of this obviously goes much further back to movies like, I guess, The Last Broadcast and the Blair Witch Project. Those two found footage movies that came out relatively around the same time. Blair Witch Project obviously being much bigger. And then, of course, even further back, like Ghost Watch in 1992 and like Cannibal Holocaust in the late 70s. Just these found footage movies that somehow get to us like a message in a bottle, and we have to just decode them and by throwing around theories. And it's not at all like it is these days, where it's like we just have so much context for stuff, right? That's like why Slenderman always really confused me, because my niece, I don't even know, my niece was maybe 5 or 6 when the Slenderman thing kind of came out, and it's something that young people really got into, and for some reason young girls really got into. Remember there was that case of those 2 girls who almost killed their friend by luring her out into the woods because they wanted to go be with the Slenderman, right? There was a whole documentary about that. I never got the Slender Man, because it's like it's not like some kind of urban legend that you can't trace the source of it, that just comes across the universe and lands in your head, and you kind of have to go from there. We know where the Slender Man started. It started in some kind of a photo contest, just like a lot of analog horror. Like this latest thing with the backrooms, right? You've seen the backrooms, yeah. See, I landed on this. This came up on my YouTube feed as I was looking up analog horror. And yeah, this thing with the backrooms, where it's like kind of like a video game when you're playing a video game and you hit like a wall that's like unclipped, right? You hit a glitch in the game and then you just kind of fall into space. Well, these internet termsters have termed this the back rooms, and you're just kind of wandering around in these back rooms for hours and hours and hours, kind of like I don't know, like a Walmart stock room that just goes on forever, one of those warehouses that exists somewhere in the universe where they store all that crap that they put on the walls of the Cracker Barrel. And yeah, you're just wandering around. So like, yeah, the back rooms, and it's inspired video games and YouTube videos where people will build and share back rooms with each other. Started as part of a photo contest. Somebody just, I don't know, made something in Photoshop and just put it up on the internet. And my whole point is that this is analog horror is making such a big deal out of stuff that we can't explain, that doesn't have context. But we do have context for it. Like you can find out where the Slender Man was started, and you can find out where the Backrooms was started. So, like, I just there's something about it that just doesn't quite gel. Like, they're trying to create something and sort of be sly or coy about where and how it was created, or something like that. kind of just giving us that original feeling of like the Blair Witch Project, where for a very, very short time, we genuinely thought that like these kids had been killed, and the investigators had found their footage and edited it together and submitted it to Sundance. I don't know. I mean, we were so freaking we were kind of innocent back there, weren't we? In the 1990s. Yeah, we were. But yeah, I think that analog horror just preys on this anxiety that I think especially younger generations feel of losing a connection with context and just kind of losing this feeling of being connected to each other, and in a way like that they never knew. To them, like they're so connected to each other all the time that I think like one of the reasons analog horror is really caught on is because they are desperately looking to be horrified, just like we all are. We all always have been. Only growing up, like when we were like, I'm considered what they would call a millennial, an elder millennial, right? I was born in 1982, which is, according to a lot of sociologists, is like the cutoff year between Generation X and millennials. So I'm called an elder millennial, which is like a fun way of saying that you're young and old at the same time. And when I was growing up, right, like we had the traditional killers off in the woods. We had Jason Voorhees, and we even had Freddy Krueger, who stalked you in your sleep. We had Michael Myers. These were just typical modern age monsters that had descended from the likes of like the Frankensteins and the Wolfmans and all that stuff. This classic Victorian abject horror, and coming into suburbia. I think that's what it was. So we had this, what we were genuinely afraid of, right, was like sort of this peaceful place that we all had to grow up in being turned into a nightmare. Okay. And so I think now what younger kids have, right, is they have this ever connected utopia where everything that they could ever possibly want is here at their beck and call. And analog horror is all about losing all of that, right? Losing all that. Like you take this film Slenderman that just came out that I talked about, which if you get a chance to see that movie, don't. I wrote an article about it that I'll link in the show notes if you wanna check it out. It's on Mike's Bonfire .substack.com. You can definitely feel free to go and check that out on Slenderman that I wrote last year. But yeah, the just the whole idea of that movie is that these two kids wake up in their house. So everything around them is familiar, but it's in the middle of the night. There's no doors. All the windows are closed. They can't find their parents. And the whole movie's just kind of them wandering around. And obviously it looks like a psychopath is shooting the footage, where it's like just you never see a full figure. You never see like a full face or a full body. Just kind of like little... the camera's almost always at a Dutch angle, like on its side. So yeah, the whole movie is all about just like losing a connection, right? To what to what's familiar, right? And I think that is analog horror in a nutshell, right? Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, just connecting that to fingerprints, right? It seemed like the poor woman working there, right? That was her analog horror, was having to touch my hands and roll them, from the from the ink to the card, from the ink to the card, from the ink to the card, right? Yeah, just over and over again until we finally had it. But it was nice, because we had a nice time in that analog space. We got to talk to each other, right? And I got to ask her about the data breach. I got to hear all about it and tell her all about my adventures in getting fingerprinted, right? And yeah, it was not wholly a bad experience. I will definitely say that. Okay. All right. So yeah. All right. Let's take a break here and listen to some music. Okay. This is the Midnight Citizen Show. I'll be back in about 8 minutes. Thanks.
Can you be on time every day?
And welcome back. And for that break, Harpo was the Nature Boy was the first one you heard there. Played them before. Really enjoy that band. And Morning, Noon, and Night. I wonder what they're talking about there. By a band called the Daddy Long Legs. And this is the Midnight Citizen Show. And again, just a little reminder, you can find those tunes, those ditties, on the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. You can play them here as long as I credit them, which I just did. Yeah. And you can find me, right? Where am I? Right here, I know. If you are listening to the show, remember that I'm recording this. I'm recording this. It says I'm recording. So in case anything goes wrong, you can find this show on YouTube, right, at youtube.com/Mike Booty. There's also a link in the show notes. Don't forget about that, right? And yeah, and also you can check out the new Substack. You heard last week's show. I've moved everything over across platforms because I've found Substack is a lot more streamlined, and I enjoy it. And it seems to be that I made a pretty good decision. I was really afraid that Substack, because it is primarily geared toward writers and podcasters who want to make money. It does allow you to actually host things without generating revenue, which is not really what I want to do here. I don't want to make this kind of a profit-centric show. I've always wanted this to be a non-commercial show. So I was really nervous, and then Chad actually just today emailed me. He said that he really liked last week's show, and I appreciate that, Chad. But it seems like he listened on Substack, and no word about Substack just like inserting commercials in there and all that stuff. So, and everything that I've read says that they don't do that, right? So that's good. I was really terrified that they were gonna. I didn't even think about that. That they might throw some commercials. I'm a really good entrepreneur. Let me tell you something. Like, I just see a platform and I just go for it. I don't need to do any research at all. But I've seen like a lot of other people. I've been on Substack quite a bit this week, and I do notes, and it seems like just a pretty good platform. Everybody seems to be really behind it. It's just something that kind of cuts out a lot of the, let's just say that like social media landscape, just like YouTube, even like it's all kind of lost its way in recent years, and it seems like Substack is ostensibly one of these platforms that really is trying to do it right. And so I've met some really cool people on there. So it's not a cult. I want to make that clear right now, okay? It is not a cult, okay? I swear with my fingerprinted hand, okay? But go to Substack and take the sacred prayer, right? And enjoy it over there. So, yeah, it's so weird about this whole thing about like not selling out. I don't know. Like I said, I am an elder millennial, but I think I still have that little bit of just Generation X DNA in me that's just so averse to taking what I love to do and just giving it to somebody else to sell and package and put on a lunchbox, right? That is just something that is just so... Right? I mean, just thinking about Reality Bites, that's not a good movie, but a friend of mine was telling me this week that he was watching it, and I think I saw that movie last time a couple of years ago, and Yeah, Reality Bites is like one of these movies where the bad guy is Ben Stiller. Like he kind of like is sort of the sweet dude in the beginning. He kind of wants to date Winona Ryder, and he's like, "I'll put your documentary on my television network." And he's like a suit for this kind of MTV like television network. And at the end of the movie, it's like he gives it over to his bosses, and then they re-edit her straight from the heart documentary into like the real world on Benny's, okay? And then she gets mad at him and she ditches him, and she's like, "Oh man, you're such a loser," and basically calls him a sellout, right? And then she goes to Ethan Hawke, who just lounges around his house all day reading Dostoevsky, and he's a slacker, right? So yeah, the villain in Reality Bites is a villain because he has a job. Okay, that's and we were totally fine with that, right? Like in like I would watch that movie in the '90s and sort of think that that's what adults were supposed to be like. They were supposed to not necessarily not have jobs, right? Like Ethan Hawke had his job playing guitar down at the coffee house, but you know. I didn't want to be like Ben Stiller and in that movie and just and have a job and and all that. So you know, now I watch that movie and it's like, oh my God, it's so bizarre because that's all that was like kind of the mantra of Generation X is like, do whatever you wanted, just whatever you do not sell out, don't do it. And now, like, what happens? You go on YouTube, and it's like, hey, today's sponsor is Hello Fresh. You know, I'm in my office all day long making video, making content for you guys, and you know what? I just don't have any time to shop, you know? So luckily for me, there's Hello Fresh, right? And it's just everything is now about getting to that subscriber level. So you can get that sponsorship, right? And you can get those patrons and all that stuff, and I don't bemoan any of that. I think that's fine. It's just it's so funny that there's just been a complete like 180 in culture, right? Yeah, that's the one where you turn around, right? Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's fascinating to me that we've made that kind of change. So anyway. I'm still not selling out unless you want to give me some money. You can do that. Yeah. Talk about this new job. So yeah, obviously I'm not going to go into too many details because I do like it, and the one time I talked about a job that I had, I almost got fired many years ago. Learned my lesson there. But yeah, it's a interesting job. The one thing that's so weird about it is that I took this job working with you know, kids essentially over the summer, working with them on reading and all that, and they told me that, you know, there's going to be a chance you're going to work with some really small kids, okay? And so and then I come to find out, no, they are really small. They're small kids. I get this collection of books in the mail the other day. Yeah, the things I see are things like animals from A to Z, caps for sale, right? Yeah. So I'm working with really little kids, which is fine. It's fine. It's just it's a little out of my comfort zone, and just learning things this week. So, but I got this like really big box of books, and a lot of these are actually very familiar with. First one that comes up is The Mouse on the Motorcycle, The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary. It's written in the 60s. It's nice to see that kids are still reading this stuff. I would have thought that they would just be completely past this by now, but there's a certain timeless. I was reading this last night. First time since I was in the second grade. I poured myself like a glass of whiskey and was sitting out there listening to, I don't know, listening to like Hall & Oates, reading Mouse and the Motorcycle. It's kind of one of those weird experiences. Kind of otherworldly a little bit. This book is darker than I remember it. You know, Ralph, the mouse with the motorcycle, is talking about how all the family members in his have died, essentially by being eaten by owls and eating aspirin and being poisoned and being thrown into the incinerator. You know, I think that's the thing with kids' literature, because why I stopped reading it so early on, right? Because a lot of the stuff, you know, you're exposed to in like the, you know, obviously elementary school, and you get it at the book fair, and the librarian pushes it on you and all that. And it's about animals and death. Like, that's pretty much all children's literature can be boiled down to those two things. Those is animals and death, and those animals die a lot, right? And I guess it's sort of to get you used to this idea that that death is a part of life, and right, and sometimes death doesn't make any sense at all, and that's the thing about, you know, bringing animals into the mix, because animals are just like people, in the fact that you can't really explain life to them, and you know, they don't always know what they're going through, and so, you know, and they die, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So that's a lot of children's literature here. But yeah, we got Matilda here, and I loved this book when I was a kid. This Roald Dahl book. I love this more than any other Roald Dahl book, more than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and all that. This is about a little smart girl, and she has telekinesis. She can move things. And I remember reading Matilda in the 4th grade, and just seeing, I wonder if I have telekinesis. I wonder if I have special powers, right? And just putting a pencil there on my desk and trying to make it move with my mind. And it never did. I think I may have blown it a little bit, maybe psychosomatically, I don't know, to make me think so, yeah. But yeah, of course, we have Where the Wild Things Are, right? That's a good old favorite. I've never read this book. This is one of those books that completely skipped my childhood. You know, nice pictures. Yeah, I think they made a movie about this a few years ago. But yeah, I am excited. I was telling a friend of mine all about this job, and I was telling him about all the books I got and how nervous I was about it, quite frankly. Just because, again, the last 2 years I've been working with college students, and before that I worked with high school students. And I have never, ever worked with a grade, an age range lower than 10, 11 years old, maybe some 9-year-olds, right? These are really little kids. Like, I'm talking about teaching phonics, okay? And so it's a whole new learning curve for me this week, right? And it's also just one of those things. I think I'm kind of grappling with some things this week, right? As I train for this new job, and I have to read like a book a night. Like, after I finish this show, I have to go and read Frindle, you know, about this kid who comes up with a new name for a pen or something. You know, some people may know that one, but apparently it's a classic. But yeah, when I was growing up, I really didn't read a whole lot of, I guess I read like some of the cursory, but like some of the required books in my class. But I really couldn't wait to get out of children's literature. And as soon as I was old enough to read like an adult book, an adult novel, I did that. And I kind of never looked back. I just wasn't one of these people, you know, that was reading things like The Mouse and the Motorcycle in middle school. It just was like not, you know, and like I've told this story many times, right? When Jurassic Park came out, I kind of had this like huge, you know, that's what reading that book, because my parents forbade me from going to see the movie for some reason. I don't know if I've ever told that story. I will sometime, but you know, but I was 12 when Jurassic Park came out. For some reason, my parents just, I don't think it's like they just never wanted me to go see it. And it turned out that my dad had seen it without me. He went with a friend of his from work, and he didn't like it that much, so he didn't want to take me to go see it because he didn't want to see it again. That's the basic story. But for years, I thought it was just because they had some kind of religious objection to it, to Jurassic Park. But it was a really good favor that they did for me, though, because I couldn't go see the movie, so I stayed home and I read the book, and I read Jurassic Park, and that was, the first big, I guess you could say, adult novel that I read. And so, yeah, I never really looked back after that. I wasn't reading, Ramona and Beezus or anything like that. It's like that was just kind of that point on. I became like a pretty, I guess you could say, precocious reader, right? So, yeah, it is very awkward for me to be taking on a job right now where I am working with very young kids and reading some of these books. Most of them are about, kids and animals kind of getting into misadventures. And, but it's okay. It's interesting going from reading and writing about Cormac McCarthy to talking about, a new job for Stu. Looks like Stu is a monster who just put on some really tight pants, and he's checking himself out in the mirror, right? So yeah, this is a long way from the book I just spent a year writing about, which was Cormac McCarthy's Suttree, about a down-and-out destitute in Knoxville, Tennessee. So yeah, it just really took me aback at first, taking this job, and I got to be honest, I was having some second thoughts about it. And then I kind of realized that I shouldn't. I mean, this is a chance to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. I've been ranting and raving for the last 3-4 years about this terrible Alabama Literacy Act. Without getting too in the weeds here, the Alabama legislature, which is one of the, just really a collection of really smart people, passed this legislation a few years ago that just went into effect, I believe, last year. And essentially under it, if you are not reading on a third grade reading level, by the time you're at the end of the third grade, you get left back. Okay. So these are going against numbers, something like 67% of Alabama third graders can't read on their level. So they're talking about holding 67% of third graders back. And of course, Alabama is one of those southern states, very much like Florida, that's been in the business lately of not only banning books, but, arresting and incarcerating librarians, giving them the true fingerprints, right? If they push any kind of material on students, on kids that feature certain themes, mainly LGBTQ+. So, reading is very much in trouble here in Alabama, to the point where the local school district here is having to hire retired teachers to come in and do supplemental instruction with students and to try and get them to go to the fourth grade and not have this gigantic bottleneck of this year's kids with last year's kids all in the same grade competing for the same teacher, right? So yeah, this is my, I guess you could say just my small little window of opportunity to make sure that doesn't happen. And so I shouldn't have second thoughts about this. It's something that I care very deeply about, because it's like, Alabama, I don't know. They don't like people reading, I guess. I don't know. Or they like to punish people, just put these punitive things into place where it's like not only are students punished, but teachers are punished by having bigger classrooms. Rather than thinking up a solution to the problem, which is like maybe we should sort of figure out how we're teaching these kids to read, what's getting them to this 67% below literacy rate. Maybe we should figure out some strategies to fix that rather than just like sort of saying like, no, we're just going to hold you back another year and just do the same thing, make the same mistakes that we made with you last year. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Okay, so yeah, this is my chance to sort of help out a little bit, I guess. All right. And now I think it's time. Yeah, I think it's time. Let's go. Let's go down to that wonderful place down in the corner. Let's go take a trip, right, to the Video Street video store. Okay? Go watch some videos. I'll see you back here in about 10 minutes.
Now that the missing links canceled our show, what are we gonna do about it?
You think he'll pull the plug on us just like that? I mean, we're not that bad.
No, but if we don't give him something new, he will.
Yo, that can't happen.
Guess I can get my old job back at Radio Shack.
Yeah, I can just hear my father now.
I told you so. You should have gone to school.
Whatever. I guess he was right.
So just like that, Max.
So what are we gonna do? Quit? Is it over?
No, it's not over. I don't give up that easy. I just need a minute to think.
Ding! Time's up. What's the answer?
What's the biggest story in gaming right now?
I asked for an answer. She gives me a question.
Doom.
Why is everything Doom with you?
Oh, the game, you jerk.
No kidding. Of course I've heard of Doom. Everybody's heard of Doom. It's not news.
All right, but this is. Doom is coming to video games.
No. Really? Of course I've heard.
All right, so you know about it. But I've been reading and hearing about it in bits and pieces.
The 32X, the Thingo adapter for Genesis.
Right, it's like a turbocharger. I heard that it makes the Genesis go 40 times faster.
Get out of here. That's hype. Look, all I know is that it's new and not many people have seen what it can do, including yours truly.
Well, I think, Max, that we should find out all we can about this thing.
Testing. Sorry, Cody. All right, I guess it worked. All right, fellas, ready?
Yeah.
All right, world, here we go.
Hold up. Hold up. Hold up.
Hottest thing right now?
32X.
What have you heard about the 32X adapter?
The 32-bit, better graphics, real good sound. It's more arcade games, more realistic games. I'm wondering, will Genesis die out? Yeah, I'm worried that they might make the Genesis games obsolete. I just wonder if they're going to carry on the line.
We are interested in finding out about the new games you're working on. See, Savage, Game Beat. Thank you for emailing Sega. Your message is being forwarded. I'm being blown up by a computer. Mr. Granger, would you consider being interviewed on our show? We are interested in finding out about the new games you are working on. I cannot find you. Who are you? Where are you? Wherefore art thou, Romeo, Juliet, savage, game beat? Wow. I hope he has a sense of humor.
Oh no, there's no escape, my sweet little plum.
All right, Mike, I think we've seen enough of that. Wow, this gotta be the strangest thing I've ever seen. I hear that.
Just got this in last night.
All right, listen up. The students that have been coming up to work the resort on this side of the lake have been disappearing right and left.
Local authorities didn't have a clue until our surveillance teams tapped into the winery house right there and taped everything you just saw.
What about the cameras and the traps?
Probably security.
What?
We suspect they're using the winery house as a cover, and they're getting anyone who stumbles onto their scheme, whatever that is.
Mike. This is Kelly.
Kid.
Come on, isn't she a little young?
She's young. She's one of our best.
She'll also be working inside. And remember, no one goes in until we get the signal from her.
I want to know more about these traps.
Yeah.
That's one thing we've got going for us.
How's that?
One of our guys put an override on the camera cable unit here in the back hallway.
Which means?
Which means we have complete control of the cameras and the traps.
But who operates that?
They do.
And who's that?
I'm not exactly certain. Special operators from Control. But we gotta work together on this one. Any questions?
Let's rock and roll.
Let's do it.
Be careful out there, huh? And you keep your eyes open. We're all depending on you, especially Kelly. She should be there now. I'll switch you over. And good luck.
I know how it can be, Tony. I was young once too, you know. You are a very special boy. We both know that. But you must start doing your job. We all have to do our job.
I know.
Well, help your cousin with that.
Yeah, it's about time.
I'm sorry, it didn't dawn on me.
Yeah, I'll dawn on you if you don't get on the ball.
I'm sorry.
Oh, che cretini.
So, what's happening tonight, Dad?
Well, we have to bottle the 2 downstairs, and Sarah's coming in with 6 more tonight.
6? Yep.
The problem is Sheila and I might have to make a delivery.
That's no problem. Tony and I can handle it.
I'm not so sure.
These have to go too.
Whoa, 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 what's this? This is a special vintage.
Oh, Jeffrey, don't be so selfish. Think of the poor, starving augurs.
Moving over there.
No, Ashley, I think it's your imagination. Check out the book.
I am so embarrassed.
No, this isn't exactly what I imagined, though.
Has anybody seen my chamois bag?
Which one? You got about 1,000,000 of them.
Back off, Bridgeface. You just better be glad I brought you along.
The only reason you brought me along is because Mom made you.
Shut up.
Time of night, I'm having a little bit of whiskey. Maker's Mark here. Welcome to pour yourself one and join me for a toast at midnight, wherever you are, whenever you are. It's good to be back here. I mean that seriously. It's been a long time since I've done one of these Midnight Citizen studio shows, and every time I would come in this home office here when I was away at grad school, just pumping away at my thesis. I would look at this mixer over here, and I would. Right, just look at all the video street video store, and just think about how much I wanted to be doing that instead. So now I'm back, and it's great. It's great to be here. So coming out of the video street video store, we had an old favorite there, absolutely, Rose Street, right? The Sega infomercial from, I think, 1992 or 3 that was done to promote the groundbreaking Sega 32X, right? Yeah. How many countless hours did you spend in front of your television playing Sewer Shark, right? And then after that, I think you could play Night Trap on that. Could you? Am I wrong about that? I think you could play Night Trap on the 32X. Hang on just a second. Let me stay here. I never had the Sega. I was a Nintendo household. We never played Sega. My parents were like, you have a Nintendo, that's enough. You don't need a Sega. But Night Trap was one of these games that is, Sega CD 32X. Yeah, Night Trap was one of those games that I guess was on a bunch of different systems and finally got kind of like a proper release a few years ago, the way it was kind of intended originally. Yeah, there it is on the video. Sega CD 32X with Dana Plato from Different Strokes. Coming right off of Different Strokes. And that was one of the things. Night Trap was one of those games that confused me on many, many different levels as like a child. Because one, it's a video game and it looks really scary. And I was confused by that because I thought, video games. I never really played many video games, and I was like Mario Brothers, and yeah, it was one of those things where I did have a Nintendo, but I only got to play basically 2 games a year. I would get one for Christmas and usually my birthday, if I even wanted one, because the jig was kind of up with me on Nintendo pretty early on. Most of the games, like I would go to the video store and I would rent some games, and I would rent like the Ghostbusters video game, or like that they had this game that was based on the popular Spot, like the dot from the 7-Up logo. The jig was kind of up with me that video games mostly sucked. I have some friends that I know would adamantly disagree with me on this, and I totally get that. There are a lot of good video games out there. It's just I didn't really have anybody in my orbit to tell me what was good and what was not. Right, I went over and I read Nintendo Power at my friend Joe's house for the pictures. So I was like, that looks kind of cool, but I didn't really read that much past that. Video games, mostly, for the most part, like good video games, seemed to me something that were unattainable. So mostly it was just Mario Brothers, right? So, you know, when I got this idea of like Night Trap, it was like confusing to me because it was like, right, this, it looked scary, and it had like Dana Plato in it, who's like a real actress, and she didn't look like a cartoon or anything. And so I was really I was like, is this a movie or a video game? I'm not really sure. Well, it turns out it was both, right? It was both. One of these games that kind of that was very much ahead of its time, and I realized this when I was playing this game on Xbox last week called the Quarry. Okay, and yeah, this is a game that is very much like the Night Trap formula. It's like the exact same thing, where you are essentially playing a horror movie. Yeah, like you take the role of a bunch of kids at like a summer camp, and they, you know, and there's like a mystery there. There's like a monster running around the woods, and it's animated. It's not like Night Trap. Like Night Trap is fully live action, but the idea is still the same, where it's basically like you're just watching a movie, and every once in a while you like press a button to make something happen, or whatever. Okay. But yeah, it's like the same exact thing as Night Trap. Night Trap was kind of conceived initially, and there's a really good, by the way, really good documentary on YouTube about the making of Night Trap. I've watched it many times. This game continues to fascinate me because it became like this big linchpin of video game criticism by Congress in the early 90s. You know, people like Tipper Gore and Joseph Lieberman, and all these people that we had seen at the Parents Music Resource Council. They were trying to do for video games what they had just done for music, right? Which is to get the industry to regulate itself. And Night Trap was at the forefront of this because it depicted no longer cartoon violence. It depicted like very real violence, you know, like augurs, you know, these things called the augurs. You know, coming out, they were like sick vampires, and coming out and using these like guns to kind of auger right into people's necks and suck out their blood, right, and kill them. So people like Joseph Lieberman were like really disturbed by this, and just thought that like, well, video games can no longer be cartoons, then we need to do something about this the way we did something about movies, right? We need to have R-rated games, okay? So yeah, like it was originally made for like videotape, like you would, or Laserdisc, I guess you could put Laserdisc in, and you know, the idea is that you're running a system of security cameras, and you're kind of going around the house. And talk about no context. This game just throws you in, and you have no idea what in the world's going on in this weird Night Trap world. But you know, you got like these teenagers coming out to like spend the weekend and party, And you got this like rich couple. They own the winery where these teenagers are. And I guess what they're doing is they're sort of like entrapping the teenagers, and then they're making wine from their blood. I think that's what it is. Like, honestly, the plot of this game is harder to follow than something like Chinatown or whatever, right? But yeah, I think that that's what's going on. But yeah, as you play the game, you're sort of like kind of trying to go through this house and like control the security system, and like you're trying to catch the augurs before they catch you. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, it's all live action. And so whenever you press a button, like something on the screen happens. It's very interactive and all that. And of course you got this like great song halfway through it that is like done specifically for the movie. Oh, okay. I guess they're not going to show us this song. Yeah. So this is like a playthrough of the game. So like, it's difficult on YouTube to find like a full playthrough of the game where you actually get to watch all of the video cutscenes, because as the player is playing, they're switching between all the different rooms in the house trying to catch the augurs. So anyway, and trap. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, let me see if I can like scroll ahead to like one of the girls getting her blood sucked out or something. I don't even know if I have the patience for this. Okay, yeah, and like here's a girl in the bathroom, and she's like getting surrounded by the augurs. Oh, one of them got caught there. Okay.
Look at this. It's a locket with a picture of a young woman.
But
She looks just like Ashley.
Dana Plato. Oh my gosh.
Tony.
Oh, you're right. They're here.
So, yeah, Night Trap. And I guess Dana Plato's the only one they could get. Yeah, she died of a drug overdose, didn't she? Yeah, it was really sad. Just that different strokes curse, or whatever, something like that. So yeah, I was playing this game, The Quarry, and I had this revelation that this is like pretty much the exact same thing as Night Trap. It's just a cartoon. It's not live action, right? And what they've done here is they finally kind of figured this out. The Night Trap, one of the reasons why there was much ado about nothing, because the game did not really sell. It wasn't a big hit like they thought it was going to be. And like I said, they originally shot it in like 1987 and weren't even able to release it until the early 90s, when the technology finally kind of caught up with their idea. Yeah, by then it was just, it generated a lot of controversy, but that was pretty much it. But primarily because of Night Trap is why we have, games like Mortal Kombat, obviously. I mean, you know the story. You listen to the show. But yeah. But they finally figured out how to do that kind of thing, which was just basically don't do live action, make it animated just like any other game, right? And so yeah. But you got this game, The Quarry, which was a fun game. I don't know. I don't even know if I would call it a game, honestly. I think, honestly, for like a guy like me, it's kind of the perfect game, because one thing is that I, if you know me, don't really like to play video games a whole lot. And my friend Josh turned me on to the song by Tenacious D, called I Don't Play Video Games No More. And it pretty much nails me to a T. I don't play video games no more, but every once in a while I'll play like Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that. And that's me. I don't know. The thing about video games is like once I get into them, I really get into them. And so the best solution I have is just to stay away from them. And I also just get bored with video games really easily. Just they become kind of monotonous to me, especially those role-playing games like Fallout. You just kind of walk around and you're leveling up, and it just seems more tedious than fun a lot of the times. But I found this game, The Quarry, which is like kind of hitting on several cylinders because I enjoy like summer camp. I enjoy a good horror movie. And sometimes when I really want to play a video game, sometimes I just want to kind of sit back and, you know, like watch somebody play a video game. I don't want to play it myself. And I used to live in a house with a bunch of guys and just sit there and just watch one of them, you know, play video games all night long. And yeah, the guy who invented Twitch, I think, liked to do that too. But yeah, the Quarry is kind of that perfect game for me because like you are just watching a movie and every once in a while you have to hit a button, right? So you're just watching a big long cut scene with like actors like David Arquette and Ted Raimi and all these actors in it who are sort of like I think that kid who's in like The Righteous Gemstones. Yeah, you got Lance Henriksen, Grace Zabriskie from Twin Peaks. You got her, right? Yeah, this game came out a couple years ago. But yeah, you're just basically watching a horror movie and every once in a while it just gives you some button to press. Like you got to like hit it and, you know, to get a character to like duck under a tree branch so they don't get caught by the killer or something like that. Right? And that's pretty much the game. And so it basically is Night Trap, right? And the only problem with this game, right, is that like yeah, like you'll forget that you're playing a game after a while. Like I was playing it the other night and I had on some horror movie just to kind of give some ambience and play it. And I kind of gotten into the horror movie. And I forgot that I was playing the game. And while I was watching the movie, suddenly I like felt a little vibrate on my controller and I looked over and two of my characters were getting killed. And it was too late for me to press the button. So like two of my characters got killed. And this was really exhausting because I've been playing this game now for 8 hours, not all at one time, but, you know, over the course of about a week and a half. And I gotten to really enjoy these characters. I will say this about The Quarry. It's like the actors that they get are really good, and it's actually really well written. They have some like good teenage lines in there, I guess, that they say that make them feel like real characters. And like you actually do kind of get attached to them. I used to kind of laugh at people who said like, that game is really emotional. It's like, okay, I mean, it's a cartoon game, but I'm being, I guess, passive here. I guess it's like, just like any other art, it can have emotion in it. Okay, fine. But yeah, I was actually really getting into this, into these characters, and I accidentally got two of them killed. One of them turned into a werewolf and attacked one and ate his neck out. And while the werewolf is eating this one kid's neck out, the one kid, he had a shotgun and he shot the werewolf with a silver bullet. So I got them killed. And I was really disappointed by that. And I tried to go back and see if I could maybe delete that save because it's like no fair, right? But they wouldn't let me. I tried to delete the save and it basically ended up deleting the whole game and all the 8 hours of progress I had made on it. So that was really, really aggravating. This Quarry game. And I'm serious, it's like some of the things that they make you do in this are just so trivial. You know, it's like you're walking around and you've been watching a cutscene, you know, just a movie of these people walking around a camp for the last 30 minutes, and then suddenly one of the characters will be like, hey, I gotta go get something out of the car. Give me the keys, bro. And like one of the characters will toss the keys to you and you'll have to hit a button at the right time to catch them. And I think it's like the point of this game is just to throw you off guard, to make you completely forget that you're playing a video game, so that like when you're asked to make a decision, it really is actually like very stress inducing. Oh my gosh, suddenly I've got to go from passive to active. It's a very difficult transition to make at times, right? So yeah, that's this game, The Quarry, that Night Trap reminded me of, right? I think that may have been the longest description I've ever given, or some tag to a Video Street video store ever. I don't know. All right. And with that, I think I'm going to bid you goodnight. It's late. I got to go read, Friendle. About a kid that creates a word for his new pen. That doesn't sound suggestive, but anyway. I wish you all luck. Wish me luck. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. No tornadoes where you are. Hope you're safe. Please remember to check me out. Do I have... Yeah, I need to do the plug, right? So I'm an elder millennial. I can halfway sell out. I think that's what it is, right? Remember to check me out over at mikesbonfire.substack.com. Please subscribe over there. You don't have to pay anything, but it'd be so great if you could subscribe. And yeah, I am going to say it. I really, really do appreciate it when people send me text messages and send me private messages about whether or not they like the show. Because I do know that a lot of people who listen to the show, I know personally, and I appreciate that. But if you could, just maybe once, okay, put a comment on public, okay, so that other people can maybe describe the show to their friends or maybe share it and sort of like, you know, they've got, you know, some testimonials there that actually say that they enjoy the show. I think like that would be nice. Honestly, I'm not giving you homework or an assignment to do or anything like that. But every time I do the show, I always get like some really nice messages, but they're all private. And I love that, but I also would really like them to be public so that other people can see the show. And I can be like one of those fancy YouTubers who get comments. That'd be kind of nice. Okay. All right. Until next time, keep your eyes open.